This is Ty, your metalhead weatherman. Hope you guys have had a good day, very safe day, and a good evening. We've had a lot of severe weather go through the southeast today in particular, and there's still some ongoing severe weather going on in the northeast as well. So I do hope that everyone has stayed safe. If you guys have liked what I've been doing on this channel, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can spread the word about the channel and also get this information out to people that need it. That being said, we're going to take a quick look at the radar here and see what we have going on. So as we can see here, we had a couple of tornado reports today in the Panhandle, Florida. Not a big surprise considering that was under a enhanced risk earlier, but it definitely looked like, fortunately for a lot of people, that the increased tornado threat that we had seen yesterday has underperformed, which is a good thing. You're always happy when you see stuff like that. We do have a bit of wind damage reports, and we're starting to get flooding. We've been having multiple storm systems going through this area, so you got to think after a while the ground is going to get saturated and it's not going to be able to hold much more water. So through the ongoing weeks, as this pattern remains active, definitely be on guard for flooding, especially if you're in those low-lying areas. But we do have one tornado warning still in effect, and I think this is actually on the northern side of the storm. Around this time, we were expecting some storms to pop off around here, and lo and behold, there it is, just north of Louisville, just past the Kentucky-Indiana border. This also has a severe thunderstorm warning. We have severe thunderstorm warning with it, and we have multiple storms starting to form behind this as well. So this is going to be interesting to watch up in this area. I would expect a severe thunderstorm or tornado watch to be issued here shortly. Another interesting thing about the setup is it's not very warm here. These are what you call cold core storms, cold core supercells. We'll get into that in another video, but in the meantime, we aren't really going to be talking about the threat here today at this point because we've already known about this for a while. Main goal of this video is to actually talk about the upcoming threat. We'll briefly go over the severe weather threat we have for tomorrow in the East Coast, but we're mainly going to be talking about the threat next week. That being said, we do have a severe risk tomorrow, as you can see here, for the East Coast. And once again, the Panhandle, Florida, albeit it will be for the more easternmost parts of it. And this is just updated here, even though not much has changed. They do this update every 30 minutes to an hour most of the time. But anyway, areas like Savannah, Jacksonville, Charleston, Wilmington, Cape Hatteras, you guys have been under a slight risk for over 24 hours now. Nothing new here. But now we, interestingly enough, have a slight risk that includes areas like Syracuse. I'm not really familiar with a lot of cities in the Northeast, so I do apologize. I've actually never been here. I do hope to change that someday, but hopefully it won't be to try to cover any sort of severe weather. But little small-scale severe setup exists over here. The main threat with this is definitely going to be wind and hail. There is an isolated tornado threat, but I think for the most part, especially up to the north, it's going to be a cold core setup, which is going to be a limiting factor in how expansive the severe weather is. So as we can see here, main hail threat is to the south. You get more of a wind threat to the north, mainly because of that upper level low spinning that's going to be spinning off to the west, and then there's a 2% tornado threat, to the northeast, and then of course towards the east coast. So this is the outlook for Saturday. Now day three is Sunday, and this is going to be our only real day of reprieve here. So if you're trying to do stuff for the weekend, Sunday is the best day to do it for anyone that is on the eastern half of the country. There'll be some thunderstorms, but we're not expecting anything severe in the weather community or the National Weather Service. So let's move on to what we've really come to talk about here. So let's go to day 4 here, and we spoke a little bit about this yesterday, and we're going to start to go into detail about it. But we're going to take a look at all of the days that are being that have all had severe risk from day 4 to 8. So this is Monday. Monday is highlighted to be a very big day, and you rarely see this kind of stuff from the National Weather Service this early on, because this has been, I think this enhanced risk has been here since yesterday, which would technically have made it a day 5 enhanced risk. You may see stuff like this only once a year, but we already have one of these in March, which is kind of crazy. And things seem to be shaping up to where this could even potentially be a tornado outbreak. We do kind of hope this underperforms, but based off the ingredients that I've been seeing, I'm not so sure it's going to. It would be nice though. But we have areas in the enhanced risk include Waco, Texas, Tyler, Texas, College Station, Longview, and Bryan. And then towards the slight risk area that they've outlined, Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, Arlington, and really kind of pushing towards the coast even now. So so I think with this particular threat on Monday, all modes of severe weather are possible. So definitely stay weather aware. Wow, I'm slurring my words a lot today. But definitely stay weather aware. So we're going to move on to day 5. And we have another enhanced risk. And the slight risk is about the same size. So we have areas like Jackson, Mississippi, Meridian, Vicksburg, Clinton, and Pearl that are in play for this enhanced risk area. And then for the slight risk, Birmingham, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Montgomery, Alabama, Mobile, and Lafayette. You guys are in play for the slight risk. Definitely are going to have to stay weather aware on this as well. This also looks like it has potential to even be a tornado outbreak. We're going to take another look at. We're going to take a closer look into the thermodynamics and kinematics momentarily to kind of hash this down a little bit further. So, day 6 now has a slight risk as well. It actually has had a slight risk since yesterday. Threat is mainly towards, guess where? The Gulf Coast. You guys can't seem to get away from it, as I've been saying a lot lately. So as we look forward here, I do think there is a possibility that this may uptick, but Montgomery, you're still in play. I think this will be maybe a morning threat for you guys, possibly. Columbus, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, Macon, and Albany, Georgia. You guys are in play for this. So definitely, as I've been saying for the last couple of days before day 6 as well, you guys also need to stay weather aware. Can't really get a good outline on the risk this far out, but maybe the forecast models can show us something. So that's day 6. We go to day 7. Potential is too low, so that will be the end. So Wednesday will be the last day and the end of that system. So the next couple of days, I think we're going to be talking about this upcoming severe weather threat next week. And then after that, we'll try to take a look into the future and see what else might be in store here. That being said, we're going to go to the Gfs model and actually start to see this storm begin to move in. Kind of get a little bit of an idea of what our threat modes are like. So, gone to about 66 hours out. This is Monday towards maybe early morning hours for the Midwest. Our main area that we're interested in is right here, eastern Texas, and southern Oklahoma towards the Red River Valley. So as we go forward here, we do see some unsettled weather develop around 3 o'clock according to the GFS, and by 1800 hours, 6 o'clock Eastern time, we watch this really start to become an explosive area for an area for really explosive thunderstorm development. Looks like a big mess. I do see some areas where there could be some supercells. It looks a little bit more of a wind threat. GFS sometimes doesn't really outline supercells too well, but it's definitely something. But definitely looks like there could be a few here. This forms up into a line into the late night hours, works its way into Arkansas and Louisiana, into the Ozarks, starts to dissipate, and then is expected to reform around noon on Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be another line of storms, but I do see the potential for some embedded supercells in there as well. And then as we move further and further along, this definitely looks to transition towards more of a straight line damaging wind threat. This, of course, could change, and we could get some isolated supercells developing. By Wednesday, I think on the south side of this line is definitely an area of interest as far as strong storms and tornadoes. Starting to freeze up on me. Okay, there we go. And then by Wednesday night, this moves off to the coast. And then that's the end of our storm system. Might be some lingering strong storms into Thursday here. Potential's not high. I do think that might change back to predictability too low. But time only tell. So we look into early Friday morning, and the worst of the weather's gone. Let's take a look and see what the Euro's showing us. And then after that, I'm going to take a look at some of the at what some of our ingredients are, what the atmosphere is working with here. We do know for a fact, based off of yesterday, that there's a lot of energy available in the atmosphere, but we're going to try to go more in depth this time around. So, wondering why my computer's acting up. I guess it's time for Chrome to update. We'll worry about that after this video though. So, oh dear. Okay, there we go. There we go. I'm hoping this thing decides to work. Oh no. Alright, come on now. Oh dear. Oh wow. Now it wants to work. Okay, so as we said before, Sunday, things are quiet. We can only look out about as far as Monday on this model because I'm looking at the most recent model run for the Euro. So you can see it Monday morning, our low pressure is forming. This is what's going to be responsible for all the severe weather. Not the most stout low pressure I've ever seen, but 1,000 millibars is still considerable. Heck on it. Going way haywire here. I'm losing it. But this isn't the most stout low pressure that I've ever seen, but it's 1,000 millibars low pressure. It's definitely good enough to spark off some severe weather. So yeah, definitely looks like a very messy type of event towards the early evening hours. I think there's potential for some isolated cells off to the west side of this early on, and then this is going to turn into a wind threat very quickly. Maybe to the south as well, towards maybe Houston. I'm thinking there could be some more isolated cells, especially as we get this low pressure jumping towards Mexico, the Mexico-Texas border. Anything off to the northeast of that in particular seems like an area of interest. I think that's where our most severe weather is definitely going to be. So we watch this form into a line, and then interestingly enough, as this line develops, I do see some supercells trying to form out ahead of it. I think this is the high res Euro, so I'm getting a little bit better of a picture than I was getting with the GFS. So as we move forward here, if my computer will move forward, but yeah, you can see in this area right here, looks to be a few cells trying to form here. I think the atmosphere is going to be unstable enough to where it can support some supercells early on in the day, especially. We really should be grateful, honestly, that this storm system hasn't come in about 3 weeks later or so, because this would be very this is already looking volatile as it is, but with the extra warmth that we would get in April, May, this would be like this is what we would call a loaded gun setup. Oh, this is the end of the model run. I'm being silly here. Let's actually go back towards the 12Z run, because we'll be able to see a little bit further out on that. Sorry I fumbled that, you guys. Okay, so we're going to have to go through this whole loading process again. That's the only bad part about it. So we were at 90 hours out. I'm just waiting for my computer to work with me here. I didn't see that update bar until a few minutes ago, so of course it would happen during the video or just before I hit record. Alright, so we're back where we were. So about 90 hours, a little over 90 hours out. This run is old though, so I will try to make a video tomorrow morning since I'm not working. Because I do work a day job, by the way. So as we go further and further forward, we do see areas of storms ahead of the main line, which is right where this low pressure is. And then as time goes on, a secondary line of storms form, and that's going to be our damaging wind threat. I think it's going to be another case of these storms to the south will again have the best chance of maybe being more discrete, more isolated, and they'll have more thermodynamics and kinematics to work with, to where there could be even again a tornado threat down here. You kind of see what seems to be maybe some embedded supercells in here. It's not very high resolution there, but well, actually now we can see it here. Right around noon, you can see what looks to be some embedded supercells in this line starting to take shape right around here. Say right about at Columbus. Actually take a sounding sample here. Maybe it'll give us kind of a threat, some kind of threat analysis, and it actually does. We actually have a marginal tornado threat right now for this. And from the looks of it here, it's a lot to read. Very small font too. Kinematics definitely look good for potential. Yeah, this is definitely leaning more towards a marginal tornado threat. This could very well uptick as well. Like I said, we're pretty far out, so there's still a lot of questions to answer here. So as we move further and further forward, by the evening hours, most of the severe weather is going to be moving out in the area, and by Thursday, things will calm down. Might be a little bit of a severe threat here, maybe another cold core setup, but I do think it's a little bit further from where the low is projected, so I think that's also going to become a limiting factor. And then by Friday, we will have watched this storm system move out. And then we can also see maybe a new potential system coming in Saturday, but this is, like I said, this is where we start to get into la-la land, and we don't really have any idea what's going to happen, what kind of mode of weather we're going to get. There we go. And this will be the end of the model run here. So, that being said, let's take a look at some of the parameters here. I'm going to look at, actually I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to take a look at the temperatures for Monday first, and then kind of just go over all three of those upcoming severe weather days. So we'll look at the low levels. 850 millibar. Okay, so we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to go through this process, a lot of waiting for it to load, so I do apologize for that. Maybe if I close out Radar Omega, it might help. I don't really think so, to be honest, but it's worth a try. Let's try and see if this will work. There we go. Well, something happened. Okay, so we're gonna go heat. Oops, we're actually a little too far out now. There we go. So if we look here, you can even already start to see our low pressure here. And it's starting to actually take that negative tilt that we had talked about yesterday. So we're looking at a negatively tilted trough, and you can just see you can see these little barbs right here. You can tell that's where our low is set up right here. And just off to the east of that, that's where our point of interest is going to be right here. You can see what looks to be some upper 60s and lower 70s available to us. So as we look further and further ahead, there's our collision air masses, there's the thunderstorms, and this is where our line's going to be right around midnight on Tuesday. So as we move further and further forward, this warm air moves out ahead of it. This is our warm sector. And based off the way the wind energy looks, this is definitely leaning itself towards more of a wind threat. But tornadoes will definitely still be possible. Like I said, we should be really thankful that this thing does not go further to a negative tilt. This kind of looks like a little bit more of a neutral tilt, if anything. So I think there could be a potential nocturnal threat maybe right about here on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, towards the south here, you can see something interesting. You can see these barbs are pointing this way and these barbs are pointing this way. This could definitely lend itself towards a tornado threat around South Georgia, maybe Valdosta in particular. I mean, it could reach as far north as Columbus, but definitely lends itself towards a tornado threat towards the Panhandle, Florida, and South Georgia, maybe the southeasternmost tip Alabama as well. I'm going to watch these move off. Becomes a damaging wind threat, and by Thursday, cold air is moved in, atmosphere stabilizes, and that's that. Let's go and let's try and take a look at some of the surface cape or mix. Oh, we have the option for mixed layer cape. Yes, please. I always like looking at the mixed layer cape versus the surface cape because it's usually a lot more telling of what the atmosphere has to work with. We'll try and close this out here as well. Try to get this thing moving a little bit quicker for you guys. I know you guys don't want a 30-minute long video. I'm going to try to do what I can to avoid that. Alright, so about 8-9 a.m. Monday morning for the central U.S. And look how quickly this cape starts to roll in. I think this cape may come in a little bit earlier. I noticed with this last storm system, it was kind of the same thing. It was kind of showing the cape popping up later, but the storms fired earlier. What the arrow is showing. That's why I normally like looking at the short range model for this. But you can look at the cape values. You can definitely see we're breaking over 1,000, closing in on 2,000, honestly. Maybe even reaching 2,000 a couple points to the south. I do think this is underdone, and I do think there's areas this cape reaches a little bit further north than what it's showing us. But I'm definitely thinking towards 3 p.m., 6 p.m. Central Time is when these storms will really start to develop for you guys in Texas. So as we go further and further forward, yeah, I think these capes are going to be underdone, but right around Baton Rouge and Mobile, I think the capes are going to be higher than this as well. But we're already showing, but keep in mind, we're still pretty far out, but we're already showing cape values near 1,000 joules plus in a lot of areas. being displayed as slight and enhanced risk already. So I do believe that these will uptick. We can hope that they won't, but time will only tell. So move further and further along. Yeah, I do think there will be a potential increase on the Thursday risk right around Virginia, maybe even as far east as the Delmarva early Thursday morning. And then by Friday, this is all gone. And then we're going to take a look at the lapse rate here, see what kind of hail we got to work. See, we're going to have a big hail threat. So we're going to go to about, not where I want to be yet. Okay. So this is Sunday. Nothing to pay attention to here because there's going to be no thunderstorms over this area. Maybe in this area, you may even see some thunder snow because this is going to have snow on the back side of it, but it's not going to be anything that anyone hasn't seen before. So we move into Monday and look at these lapse rates that are starting to build into the Texas region. We're talking about values of 8, 9. So as we move further and further forward, especially towards, well, really just all of that slight and enhanced risk area, it's a good chance for hail. So it's going to be very, so I think that the atmosphere may very well be supportive of some tornadoes. Like I said, with it being this far out, there's still a lot of details to hash out with whether or not these storms are going to be supercells or embedded supercells or just a quasi-linear event where it's just a line of thunderstorms. So come Wednesday, we do have some pretty notable lapse rates. We're looking at some 6s. We see some 7s. So there's definitely a hail threat. I think that slight risk does not kind of tell the entire story in regards to severe weather. I think Atlanta could be in play for some severe weather, albeit not very much as what we would expect to see towards South Georgia and Florida. So we can see that lapse rate even moves towards Virginia. So I do think that there will be a late night severe weather threat for them, mostly in the form of wind and hail. Can't rule out a isolated nighttime tornado. So if that does end up becoming the case here, you guys in North Carolina, Virginia, definitely have a way to be alerted if there was a tornado warning issued for your area. So watch that. Watch the lapse rates move off along with the storm system. And that's all I can show you for this model. Last thing we'll look at here is the surface base cape, a little bit high up. This is about 500 millibars. We really want to get a look at those 850s, but we'll get more in depth with that tomorrow. Okay, so we're gonna let this inch forward a bit. So there we go, we're on Monday. So we can, this kind of is what gives me the best idea, and this is how I know that the trough is going to take that negative tilt, because we're at 3 o'clock on Monday and we're watching this thing pretty much go neutral. It's pretty much a straight up and down north to south line here. So things are definitely starting to get dangerous here from the looks of it, according to this model. So we can see here that there's also a lot of wind energy associated with this. We're talking areas of possibly 80, 90 knots plus, more than sufficient for tornado genesis. So as we watch this go, you can see it trying to push towards the negative tilt where it's pointed off to the southeast. And right around nighttime, that lower level jet really would start to kick in. Right around here, honestly. Anything off to the east of this point is going to be an area of interest for potential tornadoes. I probably expect to see a lot of chasers around this area on Monday. So, like I said, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio even. and maybe areas to the north too. Oklahoma City, I don't necessarily think you're 100% in this in the worst area, but you definitely could still see some severe weather from this. But as we move further and further forward, things really start to kick up on Tuesday, and I think honestly, Tuesday might be a more dangerous day than Monday if this plays out, or upticks even, because look at this area right here. This this These surface winds have definitely kicked up. We're starting to push 90, even areas of maybe even 100 knots. So we look on Tuesday and it just only increases. It gets a little bit more widespread. So Mississippi in particular, I'm watching you really close. Maybe Alabama as well. And then come Tuesday, this thing really starts to expand outward, but it becomes more of a damaging wind threat as this goes back towards a positive tilt. But I think right around central Alabama, even, I think you guys will be in play for a little bit of nocturnal tornadoes. And then as we move further and further forward, we start to lose those. We start to lose a little bit of our wind shear profile a bit. This definitely leans towards more of a straight line damaging wind event. But there's still probably some shear available right around here, which is going to probably lead to that marginal tornado risk. Like I said, this is still pretty far out. We're talking 5 days at this point, so there's a lot of room for this to change. But this definitely lends itself towards more of a damaging wind event, and there's a lot of strong winds available. So even once this storm passes, it's going to be pretty blustery the following day. So it's going to remain that way through most of Friday, and then by Saturday, a lot of this energy is gone. But that's all I have for you guys today. This has been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and have yourselves a good night. Stay metal.